As Wirt, our little leaf in the wind, and his brother Greg find a town in which to get their bearings, they're interrupted by Beatrice, the bluebird they meet earlier. They free her from a thorn bush she claims to be stuck in, and as a reward, she says she'll do them a favor.
I get a wish? Not a wish. I'm not magical. I'll just do you a good turn. Can you turn me into a tiger?
Beatrice cuts to the chase.
You two are lost kids with no purpose in life, right?
Well, she's got you there.
How about I bring you to Adelaide of the pasture, the good woman of the woods? She could help you get home.
Wirt doesn't trust her. He doesn't trust her inciting incident. She's too weird.
Magic talking birds leading us to fairy godmothers and the mysterious... I'm going to Pottsfield.
Although we can already sense that there's something a bit off about how Beatrice conducts herself, judging by the way she very obviously wasn't stuck and really wants to bring these boys to this Adelaide person, Wirt still doesn't have the ability to trust most people in the first place. Wirt has no reason to take a risk on this random nobody. He wants to solve getting home his own way. They all go to the town of Pottsfield, where Wirt can take all his cues from the locals instead of a strange bird, not before stepping on a bunch of pumpkins on the side of the road.
I stepped on a pumpkin!
Wandering into town, the now trio and Frog discover a barn brimming with the jovial sounds of music and celebration. Inside, they find a peculiar gathering of people festively dressed in costumes of pumpkin, corn husk, and straw.
So it's some kind of weird cult.
That's right, Wirt. It is some kind of weird cult, because this party definitely has some religious undertones. Here in Chapter 2, we come upon our first real, actual Greek love term, agape. In the biblical sense of the word, agape is the fatherly love of God for all of humanity and his people's adoration for him. And yeah, Over the Garden Wall is by no means an explicitly Christian work of literature, nor is this channel interested in getting too deep into any religion for that matter. But this story draws heavy inspiration from Dante's Inferno, which is an explicitly Christian work of literature. And a portion of the show's themes seem to overlap with some of the philosophy of C.S. Lewis, who, if you know anything about that guy, you know he's a fan of the Bible. Now, thankfully for the YouTube algorithm, the pumpkin people in Pottsfield don't worship the Christian God, but they do appear to look to a different higher power, Enoch, the giant potentacled pumpkin man, or a magical talking cat in pumpkin costume if you prefer. Enoch, whose name may have even been pulled from the Bible, may be this community's god, or at least their pastor. But in any case, he seems to be the one in charge. We'll see a bit later that he either has the power to bring everlasting life to the dead, or at the very least oversees the process of resurrection. He seems to have nothing to gain from this process other than to share his love with all the souls he's saving from oblivion, and invite them to a forever party with a bunch of nice pumpkin folks. But what really drives this home is a concept which I'll paraphrase from The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis. So yeah, I told you he'd show up. According to him, agape love is theorized to be the one love that would transcend into the afterlife, as all the other kinds of love are based on earthly conditions. Carnal loves and loves of convenience and happenstance would be too secular to even exist in a divine and non-corporeal setting. All earthly love, or natural love, is left behind. No, these osteological revelers are not of flesh and blood anymore. They are now in their own heaven, experiencing eternal bliss with the only love one can actually have there, agape. Yet another aspect of agape worth noting is the concept of an agape feast, which seems to be exactly what our characters have wandered into. This Christian tradition is a gathering that's held to promote good feelings, reconciliation, and to show someone affectionate honor, all applicable when reanimating one of your dead buddies to join your town of skeletons. At an agape feast, there's plenty of food, such as the crops that were harvested, religious hymns, like the ones sung in the barn, and is often presided over by a priest, like Enoch, for example. The agape feast is even sometimes used to describe certain funerary gatherings, which is almost exactly what these guys are up to, but, you know, in reverse. So yeah, when Wirt says this is some kind of weird cult, we as an audience are being clued in that this gathering is indeed modeled after a religious ceremony, though this one, of course, being a fictionalized and pumpkin-themed one. It's shorthand for us to comprehend the deep love and devotion, the agape, that the pumpkin people must feel toward their community and Enoch, their benevolent savior. So jumping back to the plot, when Enoch finds the travelers having just trampled his crops and interrupting the party he was throwing, he confronts them. Naturally, Wirt assumes their sentence will be a harsh one, because he always assumes people want to hurt, kill, or otherwise punish him for existing. However, he's pleased to find that all Enoch wants is for them to help with today's harvest. Maybe people aren't as bad as you think. Over the next few hours, Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice assist with gathering crops and a few other tasks. Wirt even appears to get some satisfaction out of the whole thing. He looks as though he's accomplishing something important, which is a good step forward for him. However, during this montage, a song plays, which of course I can't play for you. Patient is the Night is about looking forward to a nice rest after a long day of work. Well, of course this song is applicable. After all, they're all doing work, waiting to be done with it right now. But at the same time, it seems to thematically tie into Wirt's character arc, and maybe even the town of dead people he's hanging out in. We've seen something that Wirt is beyond simply being an introvert. He's painfully risk-averse, and at the same time troubled by his lack of connection with the world. Wirt plays it safe by sticking to menial tasks instead of engaging with people. Essentially, he's a lost kid with no purpose in life. He's, like the song implies, just waiting for his last nightfall so he can finally rest. Wirt is wasting his lifetime like so many laborers might waste away their hours at work. At the end of their shift, Wirt and the others are digging some holes in a field. When Wirt comments that there's only a bit more left to do today, Beatrice confronts him with a philosophical question.
And then what are you gonna do? Just wander around this way and that way through the woods forevermore?
Maybe we'll just stay here in Pottsfield. It's nice here. I don't know.
While this line can be taken literally, it also sums up the problem Wirt's been having emotionally. Wirt is lost in the metaphorical woods, always wandering because commitment is a risk that is too scary for him. Becoming vulnerable is too much. When Beatrice asks what he's going to do with the rest of his forever, it's perhaps the first time Wirt has actually had to confront the trajectory of his life. Is Wirt really going to take the path of least resistance forever, knowing full well this method already makes him unhappy? Is he just, as the song suggests, clocked in until the workday's over? Or is he going to have to take a risk and trust someone who has the ability to potentially hurt him? Unlike the woodsman who reinforced Wirt's hopeless view of the world, Beatrice is forcing him to look at things more pragmatically. The woodsman says, protect yourself at all costs. But then Beatrice asks, okay then, safety boy, what's that plan look like exactly? He isn't ready yet, but by the end of his arc, Wirt is going to have a definitive answer to Beatrice's question about wandering in the woods. Suddenly, they're digging unearths something rather disturbing. Human remains. Wirt sees this and of course assumes that they too are going to be put in the ground.
We're digging our own. I was wrong all along. I don't know how to get us home.
Now feeling that he's in immediate mortal danger, a chunk of Wirt's defensive wall is instantly torn down. He's willing, desperate even, to take a risk on this talking bluebird. Maybe she'll be a good friend. Maybe she'll be a cruel enemy. But anything's better than dying right now.
Yes, I want your help.
Wirt doesn't know how to fix himself. He can't get out of the woods alone in the state he's in. He needs other people to help him find happiness. With this realization comes the show's main story. It's the story of how Wirt goes from a lost child wandering the loveless woods of his life alone to a decisive adult willing to take a risk and accept other people and himself and all of the unpredictability that comes with it. This is the story of how Wirt risks it all to let other people into his cold, impenetrable heart and saves himself from a terrible, lonely fate. This is Wirt's love arc. As Wirt stalls for time while Beatrice tries to break their shackles, the little bluebird and Greg actually make an escape. Of course, Wirt assumes they've left him behind to suffer at the hands of the pumpkin people, because Wirt always assumes the worst of everyone.
They left me.
But once again, the truth is not so sinister. Enoch didn't want them to dig their own graves, he wanted to dig up his friends' graves so we can reanimate them for a party. And yeah, Beatrice and Greg didn't leave Wirt after all. They broke his shackle and were waiting for him.
Why are you still here?
Maybe people aren't as bad as you think. As pleasant as this skeleton community seems, Wirt sees that if he stays where he is, he'll be joining the land of the dead a bit too early. And understandably, this is off-putting to him.
You sure you want to leave?
Me? Yes.
Maybe agape love is what awaits Wirt when he passes on, but there's still too much life ahead of him to find that out now, so he probably shouldn't waste his time while he still has it.
Oh, well, you'll join us someday.
Wirt leaves with Beatrice, and at this point he's willing to take the risk and trust her to get them home. From this little adventure, she's already proven herself to be helpful enough. Even though, to us viewers, it's heavily implied Beatrice is up to no good, she's pushed Wirt out of his comfort zone into a place where more love can be experienced. But we'll have to see how Wirt, our little leaf in the wind, fares in Act 2, when he puts his trust in someone who's really not as benevolent as she appears. Though, if you think he'd be better off putting his trust in a town run by a raucous crowd of the undead, you'll probably need to watch my video about what it's like to be Sally in The Nightmare Before Christmas, cause I don't know if you noticed, it doesn't go great for her. Anyway, something I can't figure out. If Enoch is essentially God, then what does that make this frog guy? He's the narrator, but he also barely speaks, so what's his deal? Write down in the comments what his deal is, and if it fits, it might find its way into a future episode. How's that for parasocial interaction? Pretty soon I'll have all you chumps writing this channel for me. Please subscribe to my channel. I don't make enough in revenue to support my family.